you're 12 and you just moved to a new country where you don't speak the language. You have no friends, but you want nothing more than to belong. How far would you go to belong? And furthermore, is it possible to fully immerse yourself in a new country and still maintain your identity? Moving to a new country where you don't know the language is not easy. What made it easier for me is that I love learning. I was fascinated by languages, and I really, really wanted to move here. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved school, like really loved school. When I was in first grade, I went to a private Catholic school. Every grade had 2 levels, and because I didn't go to kindergarten there, they put me in the lowest level, and I was bored out of my mind. Every time the teacher asked a question, my hand was the first one up. But eventually, she stopped calling on me. I noticed that she would call on the people that weren't paying attention, so I devised a plan. If I pretend I'm not paying attention, she'll call on me. So next time she asked a question, I held my hands, avoided eye contact with her, started drawing on my notebook. She didn't call on me. She knew exactly what I was doing. Needless to say, they moved me to the other class. I have to admit I didn't really like this school very much, but I'm grateful that I went there because they had dedicated English classes, and I built a foundation there that would help me to learn English a lot faster when I moved here. So at this point I had learned some basic English vocabulary, but I wouldn't say I spoke English. Couldn't really string sentences together, but I've always wanted to learn and speak another language. Since I didn't know one, I made one up. I would write down Spanish words and sentences on a piece of paper and then read those out loud backwards because to me that sounded like a foreign language. Then one day, my dad sat me down and said, "Oye, Kissy, nos vamos a los Estados Unidos. Hey, Kitsy, we're going to the United States." "De veras?" "Yes, really." I was so excited. Finally, I would get to learn a real foreign language. I remember the first day of school after I moved here, like it was yesterday. It was 7th grade. I knew a little bit of English, but not much. I remember all the kids gathering around me asking to see my schedule. But I was confused. What is this word, schedule? Eventually, they managed to explain it to me, and I learned a new word that day. But I still had a lot more to learn. I knew that if I wanted to learn English quickly, I needed to fully immerse myself in the language and only speak English at school. So that's what I did. Didn't associate with any Spanish people, just spoke English. And within 6 months, the next semester, I was fluent in English, and you could not shut me up. But it cost me. I was starting to lose my Spanish because I wasn't using it. Even at home, we didn't really speak Spanish because my parents wanted us to learn English, so they speak English to us. I had pretty much buried my Spanish dictionary way in the back of my head. So every time I needed to use Spanish, I had to dig it out, pull it forward, and that took way too much effort. So I just skipped it, and I spoke English instead. For years, I felt guilty that I had basically shunned Spanish and lost this part of myself. Recently I've come to realize that this is a common thing. When you move to a new country, oftentimes you try to belong and you lose a part of yourself. So that was a relief. It wasn't just me. Other people had experienced this too. But I still wasn't ready to do anything about it. Then I went to Puerto Rico twice in 10 months to bury my grandparents. Every time I go there, I feel like a stranger in my own country. I have to pull out that dictionary again, bring it to the front, and try to pretend I'm a native, and I don't feel like a native. I feel like a fraud. But this time it was different. I was reconnecting with family I hadn't seen in 10 years. And finally I realized enough is enough. I don't want to hide this part of myself anymore, because it's a big part of my identity. A few months after I joined Toastmasters, I met the Vice Principal of Education of the Spanish Bilingual Club. When I learned that basically an entire part of that meeting is in Spanish, I thought, this is it. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for. Just like I immersed myself in English when I first moved here, I needed to immerse myself in Spanish now so that I could regain my identity. And it worked. I now feel way more comfortable in Spanish. I feel like I can think and speak Spanish without having to translate to English. My Spanish dictionary is right here, right next to my English dictionary. It took me 24 years to come to this realization and decide that I wanted to do something about it and get my identity back. So back to that question I posed at the beginning. Is it possible to fully immerse yourself in a country and not lose your identity? Well, it's difficult. And when we try to belong to something, there's always a risk that we will lose a part of ourselves or bury it, like I did. But it's always there within you, and it's never too late to get it back. Thank you.